And I was fortunate enough to do another ink sample swap with a friend. So you might know from Corolla, she has a YouTube channel and Instagram, and we did an ink sample swap. So I got this nice little note from her with her beautiful florals, and I love that Corolla said what pen and ink that she used, which is really fun, and was so kind as to swatch all the inks with their names, which is really cool. Also, Corolla included for me some of her stickers. So a year one, which is great. I'll put that on the front of my TN insert calendar. And then a from Corolla. And there's her QR code right there for you to pick up and check out. She does all these florals by hand. And I think, I'm not sure if these are used with fountain pen inks or watercolor. She might do both. So what I thought we would do is I've been on a bit of a purple kick, so I thought we'd go through all the purples from light to darker and then do the other colors following. And this is on taller paper, I'm pretty sure, so that's a nice representation. I've got some swatch cards ready to go, and let me go over my setup really quick here. So I have 11 inks from Corolla. This is my oak modular set, so it holds 7 vials of sample ink, and then it has a nice pen tray that will hold 1 or 2 instruments. So I have, for swatching today, my Tachikawa wood holder and my Colorverse aluminum shuttle, along with a glass spoon for swatching. I also have an individual stabilizer for my vials that I can use, and I mentioned the swatch cards, so we're ready to go. I've already organized them in order. I have put a little sticker on top. I'll also be using a watercolor brush for swatching and for putting the color on top. We have 2 shimmer inks to check out. So let's get into it. I'll go ahead and zoom in on this. There we go. A little more roomy. There we are. All right, so up first, we're going to do Sailor 252. And this is a non-shimmer ink, so no need to shake that up. I'm going to wet my watercolor brush down and then dry it. I usually do that just for the health of the bristles. It's a natural bristle brush. And let's get this nicely saturated. I've really been enjoying these swatch cards. It's just quick and easy, and it shows the ink properties really nicely as well. So while I have ink on my brush, I need a little bit more, I think. That should do it. Ooh, that's really pretty. We're getting some nice chromo shading. Lovely, lovely. You can see in that high saturated area that it's kind of a green. Also, a really light pink. These are the colors that I really wonder about as far as I use a fine writer myself, how well the ink would show up. And I've been in the habit lately of capitalizing the brand, so let's do Sailor and 252. That's it. Lovely. Also, as just a general note of interest, I got this for, we just got back from the Pacific Northwest Pen Show. That's where Corolla handed me off these ink swatches, but I got one of these little flushing things that they use for watercolor, and it's been really neat to try out. I think it's very useful if you do a lot of ink sampling, ink swatching, ink playing. I'll show that when it's fully dry, but we'll continue. I want to have a... Alright, next we have Fierce Chroma Shading one. It does have shimmer. So I did shake it up, clean my brush off, dry it, and it's settled in that time, so let's shake it again. Hi Corolla, yay inks! Yes, I love it. I love sample inks, I love trading them. It's so much fun. Alright, here we go, Blushing Mushroom. Okay, so that looks blue upon putting it down. I really like these clear sample vials too. Corolla, are these sample vials that you usually get to? Because I think I used the same one. Okay, Ferris wheel press. Blushing Mushroom. Okay, so, oh my goodness, those colors are gorgeous. Yes. Blushing. So, I've had Kakamori stainless steel dip nib before, and I recently got the brass and aluminum colorverse. I really like them a lot. They're finer writers, which is great because I use extra fine a lot. Look at that. It looks like it's a rose gold shimmer, which is kind of hard to see, but it's lovely. And surprisingly not difficult to read. Same as Sailor 252, the one we just finished. I'll do them all at the end when they're dry. I'll show them all at the end when they're dry. Okay, but we want to move along. I want to try to keep to an hour today. Okay, so Colorverse Purple Cosmos. This is an ink that I've seen and I was curious to buy, but I seldom buy bottles, and so it was nice to be able to get a sample. So let's see what we think. It was fun to start off with two beautiful chroma shaders. And this I know from the little a power swatch. Yes, girl, that's so funny. Oh my goodness. I know from the little swatch sample. Oh my goodness, that is amazing color. It's so funny how the camera doesn't always pick up the way it looks in person. This is extremely punchy in person. It reminds me of the color of dahlias that I'm seeing out blooming right now in gardens. It's so much more vibrant in person. I felt like my lighting was good, but it's just not really popping the punch on this. There we go. It's so pretty. Okay, so Colorverse Purple Cosmo. Very pretty. Okay, so for those of you who do a lot of ink swatching or the watercoloring too, so you press this and it like empties it like a little porta potty kind of, or like it's really funny. Okay, so sorry, I just had to show you. I'm still quite. It's not fascinating in the sense of like it's complicated. It's just kind of hilarious. So I call it an ink toilet. All right. And it's perfect because now the water is very pink and definitely needs to be flushed. There we go. All right, cool. Okay, here's another ink brand that I have never tried before. This is Tom Studio. And you've probably seen that they're coming out with a lot of new instruments to use fountain pen inks in a different form that are more commonly, I think, used by artists, perhaps. This doesn't have shimmer, so don't have to shoot that. And this is, we're going to be going darker, so this one probably won't be as vibrant. That's very pretty. I really like that. I tend to like earthy undertones with my inks. But this one, I think, at least for me, is a happy medium because it's quite vibrant, but it's not so in your face that you can't enjoy it, at least for me. And on top of that, I feel like inks do get rather subdued when you're writing with them because you're not seeing the big body of color like you do in a swatch. Tom Studio. And this is Iris. This reminds me of the Pelican 4001 Purple. It seems to be along that shade. I don't think I have a swatch of that handy, but that's what it reminds me of. Okay, yet another brand that I haven't used before. Estabrook Lilac. If anyone knows who makes Estabrook ink for them, or if it's numerous brands, depending, let me know. I'm suspicious that it might be like Diamine, but I don't really know. So Estabrook Lilac. I know they have a pen that's the Estabrook SD Lilac. I wonder if this came out in conjunction with that. This has a little bit of a cooler undertone, so more blue. Yeah, especially as it's drying. They're older inks? Okay. I should ask Alexandra. She might know. Or Shannon, maybe. Because I know for some of the releases, they do include inks. Yeah, as it dries, you can already see. It also looks like it's a very wet ink from how it behaved on the paper. See how it looks a little blotchy and less crisp compared to that? And even the writing is a lot thicker. Alright, up next, J. Herbon Paussière de Lune. Paussière? I'm not sure. This, from looking at the little swatch up that Corolla gave me, I think I'm already going to love. Oh wow, that's very pretty. Look at that. That's a really nice balance between like a pink and a purple, I would say. Not like full-on magenta, but it leans pink compared, or even in the red family, compared to the other purples that we've been swatching. I don't have many Herbon inks, but they have their staple ones for sure. Lovely. I like this a lot. I'll have to compare this to the, it looks really close to that Marionberry ink that I just got. Let me see if I can find, did I make a swatch with that one? I'm not sure if I did. Okay, I'll have to grab it before the video's over. We'll let it dry though. So much fun with the purples. I think this one and the Cosmo, Purple Cosmo by Colorverse, are my favorite so far. Actually, that's all the purples, so there you go. Okay, so now we'll move on to the non-purples. And this is Robert Oster Honeybee. I've tried quite a lot of Robert Oster inks. They had a swatching table at Stationery Fest, and they had a ton of bottles and swatch cards and everything, and they weren't even selling inks. They were just providing them for swatching to kind of build, I think, familiarity. Oh, that's a lot lighter than I was expecting. I was expecting a little more mustard, and this is a pretty vibrant yellow. But I think with writing, it'll look beautiful. This feels like a really well-behaved ink. It's just flowing really nicely. Honeybee. It is drying a little darker, so that's nice. Picking up a little more orange in person than on camera. Okay, next we'll do Ferris Wheel Press Hearty Harvest. This is a shimmer, so we'll shake it up really nicely. I saw this ink. Okay, so Honeybee will look darker when dry. Okay, cool. We'll take a look. Hardy Harvest, I saw it when it first came out, um, and I really liked it a lot. But not only do I like to try inks first, but I also just don't like buying bottles, large bottles. If it's a small bottle, like I'd say a 15 ml bottle is my ideal because it's enough to share with other people, do a few samples out of, enough to do plenty of swatching, and then be able to ink multiple times. So that's my ideal. I don't buy full-sized bottles often. Usually it's only under certain occasions, like if I'm at a show or an event, or it's just, or I go to a shop in person. I don't think I've ever bought a bottle of ink online before. And I love doing ink swaps like this too. So here's another Ferris wheel press. Hearty Harvest. And this is an ink that I think I will definitely enjoy inking up in the autumn, but it's actually so vibrant that I wouldn't mind it for the summer at all. And let me show you the pen that I think this would look phenomenal in. My Aurora. See, it has this Optima. It's a 365 brown. And I think this would look really nice together because it picks up those beautiful orange tones. So, most likely if I do use that in my fountain pen though, I'll not shake the bottle and let the shimmer settle. That way I don't get shimmer in my pen. I don't usually put shimmer in my fountain pens, just to keep maintenance and performance at its peak. I have put it in some pens before, like I had a peniter that handled shimmer inks really nicely, but I don't have that pen anymore. I'm getting ready for a revisit of my fountain pen collection too, and I usually do that semi-annually, maybe twice a year. Just get everything out, take a look at them, see how I'm feeling, and consider if any of them might do well to be rehomed, if anything needs tuning or grinding, that kind of thing. Reevaluate my feelings. This is Sailor 280. Yes. And I think from the swatch that I saw, this should have some chromo shading also. And it looks like it's already beginning to shift. I wonder if I can use my shuttle to put the ink on the lid. Let's see. Well, what do you know? That's nifty. There you go. That works. Oh, that's very cool. I like that a lot. We have 2 more inks to go. I'm actually like killing it on time, which is cool. How nice. This doesn't look anything like how it looked on the Tomoe River. I think this is Tomoe River paper anyway. Crazy. Papers make such a big difference. All right, next up, we've got J. Herbon La Bete. And tea leaf, I believe is what this means. And I've been wanting to try this forever. Just another one that I just can't commit to a bottle, but this is like a fan favorite, something that I've heard a lot about from within the industry, and just haven't got my hands on. If I found it in the small bottle, I would get it, but I don't come across that often. Yeah. Okay, so it is Tomoe River paper. So yeah, the papers just behave and show inks very differently. Oh, wow. Look at that. Okay. I can't wait for it to dry, but I think I can see why this is a favorite. See, it's so interesting because sometimes there's favorites within the fountain pen community, and I'd say for the most part, most of them have absolute merit. We try that pen, that ink, whatever it is that people are raving about, and most of the time, it definitely stands on its feet. And you're like, yes, I can see why this was a favorite. This is one of them, for sure. On occasion, I don't really get it when I do try that ink or that pen that everyone raves about, and it's not a favorite with me. Or I try it and I get why it's a favorite, but it still doesn't resonate with me. An example of that would be, feels very wet. An example of that would be the Lamy 2000. I finally got to try one in a shop in an extra fine. And I totally get it. I totally get why people love that pen. Specifically the nib. Now the material it's made of is interesting. It's tactile. It's durable. So I get that too. But the nib is shaped very uniquely. So you do get a very unique writing experience, albeit too broad for my preference. This is amazing. I really love that. Very beautiful. That's gorgeous. Okay, we're down to our last one. And this is a collab, Dominant Industry, with Wonder Pens, Tuna Gray. So, Wonder Pen's shop is in Toronto, and that's our home show. So Scriptus, the Toronto Pen Show, is our home show. So I don't get to go to that shop often. I've probably gone 3 times total, but I do get to see them at the Scriptus Toronto Pen Show. And at least for the last 2 years, I've gotten ginger chicken, and then they came out with a shimmer one. I got that too. But I've never been gravitated enough to try their other inks. So I'm really curious to try this and see how it performs. And see, this is the nice thing about sharing samples with your friends. I did a video about kind of a how-to in case you're interested but you haven't done it, just a little 101 on it. But it's so fun. It's a nice way to connect with others that are enjoying this hobby like you are, but also try new inks and chat with people about them. Ooh, this is a lot more interesting than just a gray, which is awesome. Let's see how it dries, because right now it shows a little bit of a purple undertone, which I think is great, because I'm not a big fan of like flat grays. Tuna is the name of one of their cats. It's Tuna and Chicken are their cats' names. Chicken is a orange and yellow cat, and Tuna is silver and white, I think, or like gray and white. So they named these inks and got the inspiration from their pets. I'd say that the purple mutes out significantly, that purple undertone, once it dries, but it's still a really nice gray. It's not boring, so I really like that a lot. So now we can go back and take a look at all these swatches, and by the time we do the others, this one will have dried. Let's see. Okay, so let's go back. Sailor 252. Very pink in person with a little bit of purple undertone and a green kind of chromo shading effect there. I really like it. It looks like it'll do well on a wet rider. In a fine dry rider, likely not so much. It's quite light. Okay. Ferris Wheel Press Blushing Mushroom. This is gorgeous. We get a very light whisper of a lilac. Some deeper lilac with some blue, rose gold shimmer, it looks like, chromo shading. It's very lovely. Colorverse Purple Cosmo. This, like I said, is a lot punchier in person than it shows on camera. It's leaning magenta. I'm not really sure why it doesn't pick up well on camera, but it is a fun color for sure. And I think in writing, in a wet writer, I like the color better. It would be a lot more vibrant with a dry writer. So that's that one. Tom Studio, first time trying their inks, Iris. I think this is a good representation of the color, the flower. It's a nice, quite balanced purple. A little bit of an earthy gray undertone, but a nice balance between being on, you know, how purple can lean red or blue. It's a nice in-between. It's a happy medium. I really like it. Esterbrook Lilac. This one is more blue based, more gray undertones. It performed, I think, pretty wet. As you can see on the paper, it's not as crisp, so you don't really get shading. It's just a flat color, but it is a very pretty color. And then we have the last purple. This is J. Herbin Posia de Lune. And this is a purple that generally lands in my favorite purples that are very earthy, very grayscale. I don't know if it's my favorite of the bunch, but I'd say this is the most me of what I gravitate toward when it comes to purples. Maybe a little bit less saturated than ideal, but really, really nice. I like it a lot. It has some good shading. You can see that too. I'll show you these purples because I've been doing a lot of purples in comparison to some that I have in my swatch book. Robert Oster Honeybee. This did dry darker. I think this, I've never seen Buttered Popcorn by Ferris Wheel Press in person, but I think this would definitely land in the category of a legible yellow. And I think generally that's because it has enough orange to it. So this isn't like a strong orange. It's kind of I'd say a yellow with some orange in it. And it is darker in person than it looks on camera as well. Okay, Ferris Wheel Press Hearty Harvest. I love this. This is really, really good. It's got shimmer and it's got nice shading properties. It's a solid orange. As it's has a nice amount of red undertone, and it's also a little bit tonality of autumn without being too flat. Because you can kind of get away with this in the summer, I would say. It's vibrant enough that I don't feel like this belongs in autumn colors exclusively. Sailor 280. This is really cool. Another chroma shader. We've got light green with some vibrant green with some light brown, like a nice sandy brown. I really like that. And I'd say it's quite legible with a wet or medium writer. So that's really nice. I think if you're using a very fine or dry, it wouldn't show up as nicely, but that's a fun ink. Then this is probably the ink that I'm most excited to check off of trying. I'm excited to try it in a pen, but J. Hervan Leilete Tea Leaf, it's really nice. I would like to see a little bit more crispness from the swatch. It looks like it's a little too wet for my taste, but you do get some nice shading. There's some complexity to the color. It's not flat. Very pretty, very, very pretty. And I can definitely see why so many people really enjoy this color. And then finally, Dominant Industry and Wonder Pens bring Tuna Gray. This does have a little bit of a violet or blue undertone, way less now that it's dry. It just looks like a nice shading gray. So pretty solid. It has some interest to it for sure. It's not completely flat, which I like. And it's got good body, so I like that you can get some really light tones and some really dark ones as well. Let's take a look at how some favorites stack up. So I want to compare J. Herban Leilete and let's see here, with these four. Actually, I don't think I have anything quite like this, so we'll leave that one out. Whoa, there goes my water. Diamine Sepia. Yeah, it does. That is similar. You're right. Okay, so here's some swatches I've been doing. Let me lay these out so I can kind of compare things as I go if anything pops out. This is not all my swatches, it's just the ones that I've been doing recently. Okay, so here is something really interesting. Here's Leilete with KWZ Honey. Not far off from each other. The KWZ Honey has a lot crisper of a color, at least on this paper, and it's a lot more vibrant and yellow that shades browner, but not far off from each other. I mean, you know, they're definitely distinctive. Here is next to Robert Oster Cafe Crema. Cafe Crema, a lot of a richer kind of like orangey brown compared to Leilete, which has more of a green undertone, and it's a lot more saturated. Better shading properties as well. And here's Tasha Suzuki. Again, a lot of a redder, warmer undertone and a lot more saturated. Here's another one, Kobe Brown, that just went kind of flat on the swatch. I'd be curious to try that on Toma River to see if it performs better. Yep. Sorry about the glare on these plastic sleeves too. I know it doesn't help. Okay, this is where the Sailor 252 would live, somewhere in here. I don't really have an ink that's similar to it on swatch, but this is the family. Okay, Wearing Cold Jane Eyre and Blushing Mushroom. Wearing Gold Jane Eyre is, I would say not, it doesn't really look like a chroma shader, but it is a dual shader maybe. And doesn't have shimmer. It doesn't pull as much blue. It's definitely more of a pink. Okay, here we go. Colorverse Purple Cosmos. It's way more saturated than the Bungo Box Amont, I guess. But they're both really vibrant in person. Not picking it up on camera. And oh, I have, very interesting. I don't remember getting this before. Esterbrook Lilac with Robert Oster Sydney Lavender. Interesting. Very interesting. And let's see here. Yeah, I think that's some nice comparisons just to take a look at. Good swatches. The Marionberry is the other one I wanted to show. And I think they have, let's see, here we go. Okay, so here, it's on different paper, so it's not really the best comparison, but I wanted to look at these two side by side. So this is a lot more red and earthy, slight green sheen, the Oblation Oregon Marionberry compared to the J. Herbon Potier-Denduin. But this was really fun. These were great inks. I had a lot of fun swatching them. I think I'll have just as much, if not more fun, inking them up, pairing them with my fountain pens. I do occasionally dip and use inks as well if I'm writing letters, or especially in my TN inserts when I'm doing documenting. So this was fantastic. I really enjoyed it. Thank you very much to Corolla for sharing these inks with me. These are how they look on the Tomoe River paper, just as reference. Let me bring it up a little closer to the light. Como sa. So you can see. And what did you use to do these swatches? What instrument? Was it a dip pen? Yeah, so we have a comment from Sandy Banks. The challenge I have is swatching on paper that is very different from what I actually write on. So what I do is I usually swatch on cards for easy documentation and reference. However, I usually will do a swatch also in my notebook. So if you're writing whatever paper that you're writing with, it would probably serve you very well to do some swatching in that to get a accurate representation of what that ink will look like on the paper that you're using. Bearing in mind that even in this case, the ink that you're swatching you want to use a dip pen that corresponds. So like if you use mediums a lot, try to use a medium dip pen, maybe from the Sailor Hokuro or something else, to represent the ink. And what I mean by that is, like, for instance here, this is my insert by Yamamoto paper. It's a traveler's notebook, passport sized, and I swatch my currently inked in this. So here we have my Visconti Viscontina, and I have a medium, MA stands for medium architect, with Mont Blanc burgundy red. So if I do a swatch here, especially if I do it with like a brush or a very broad swatch, it's always good to write it as well when you're doing your swatching, because you can see that even in our normal swatches, that what the swatch looks like and what the writing looks like is not always consistent. It's the exact same ink, but visually it's going to look different based on the width of the pen, the fact that you don't see like a big spread of it, it's just concentrated in those lines, and how wet or dry your pen is. So that's why I always like to swatch as much as possible in a method that's going to show high and low values of ink. Meaning that here we can see a high saturation area right next to a low saturation. The low saturation often will represent what the ink will look like more in a fine or dry writer, and the high saturation areas will better represent wetter writers and broader writers. That way you can get a fair estimation of how your ink is going to look in writing. So this is a good example here, the note that Carla sent me. It says that it was written with a Estie, broad journaler by Gina, and the Scriven ink, Mossy Stonewall. So you can see that there's light areas and dark areas based off how the ink performs. From looking at it, I would say that this writer, this pen, is kind of in the middle as far as wetness goes. If it was dry, you wouldn't see as much shading. If it was wet, you would see a lot more of that high saturated color and not as much shading as you do see, which I think is half the fun of using a nib like this. So the journaler is kind of like a stub nib. So anyway, those are the inks and I guess my thoughts for today. Hope that helps Sandy. And Crowley got back to me and said that she thinks she did those swatches with the Kakamori nib. So that's really fun also, that you can do a nice little swatch up like that. Do an ink dump with your dip nibs. So I'll thank you so much for watching. I'm having fun doing these Inksplorations, and thank you for joining me. Have fun with your inks, and I encourage you to do ink swaps with your friends out there. It's a good time. Corolla, thank you for these inks. Thanks for joining in the chat. I'm glad you could be here, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Have a good one. Bye.